A black man in his 50s is driving home from work, and when he sees the flash of blue lights in his mirror, even when he knows he did nothing wrong, his hands go to 10 and 2 before he even makes the decision to put them there. His voice drops an octave. He turns the radio down before he's even fully stopped. He checks his tone before he checks his mirrors. Most folks watching that moment think he's nervous. He's not nervous. He's trained. And that training didn't start last week. It started when he was 14. This is the behavior wire. I'm here to tell you that reflex, the one so many people mistake for fear, is actually a memory. And it goes back to a sidewalk, a schoolyard, a corner store parking lot sometime in the late 70s, 80s, or 90s, when a boy who hadn't done anything got treated like he had. Before we get into this one, if you're new here, hit subscribe. This channel is about understanding what shaped Black Gen X men, the parts of them the world sees, and the parts it never bothered to ask about. There's a lot more where this came from. Now let's get back to it. You probably know him. He's your uncle, your big brother, the man at church who goes quiet whenever a police car passes. He's not being dramatic. He's not still stuck in the past. His body just remembers something his mouth doesn't always bring up at the cookout. Let me take you back to that sidewalk. He's maybe 15, walking home from a friend's house or the store or practice. Doesn't matter which one, because it happened enough times that they all blur together now. A car slows down beside him. 2 officers get out. Where you headed? You got ID. Whose bag is that? He answers every question the way his daddy drilled into him before he was even old enough to shave. Yes, sir. No, sir. Hands where they can see them. Don't run. Don't argue. Don't even look too upset about it. He gets released 10 minutes later with nothing on him and nothing on his record. To the officers, it was a routine stop, forgotten by the time they drove off. To that boy, it was a lesson. You can do everything right and still get treated like a suspect. That lesson doesn't leave when the encounter ends. It moves in and it unpacks its bags. Here's what the research actually shows. And this part matters because it's not just a feeling, it's measured. A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2019, led by researchers, including Juan del Toro at NYU, followed a group of Black and Latino high school boys over several years. The researchers found that boys who were stopped by police reported more delinquent behavior 6, 12, and 18 months later, and that this effect held up independent of anything they had done before the stop. The study also found that psychological distress was part of what connected the stop to that later behavior, meaning it wasn't the stop itself doing the damage directly, it was what the stop did to a boy's mind and his sense of who he was in the eyes of the world. And the researchers found something else worth sitting with. The younger a boy was the first time he got stopped, the stronger these effects turned out to be. Read that again. It's not that trouble-prone kids got stopped more. It's that getting stopped, even with no charges, no arrest, nothing on paper at all, changed how a boy saw himself and the world around him. A whole generation of black boys got a message pressed into them before they had a driver's license. You are watched, you are suspected, you are guilty until proven otherwise, and sometimes not even then. Think about the era these men grew up in. Reagan-era policing on the news every night. Tough on crime as a campaign slogan you couldn't escape. Stop and frisk before most of the country even knew the phrase. The war on drugs turning entire neighborhoods into places where a police presence wasn't protection, it was patrol. It was occupation dressed up as public safety. A boy in that world learned the rules of the street before he learned algebra. Walk with your hands visible. Don't put your hood up at night. Don't run, even if you're late, even if you're freezing. Know which streets to avoid after dark, not because of other kids, but because of who might pull up next to you in a cruiser and decide you match the description. That kind of childhood does something specific to a nervous system. It doesn't just teach caution, it teaches a boy to monitor himself constantly, to perform calm even when his heart is racing, to read a badge and a uniform the way other kids read a pop quiz, as something you can fail no matter how prepared you are, no matter how innocent you are. Some of those boys grew into men who carry that same posture into rooms that have nothing to do with police at all. Job interviews, parent-teacher conferences, a traffic stop for a broken tail light at 45 years old with grandkids in the back seat. The shoulders square up, the voice smooths itself out, the hands go visible on the wheel without being asked. Not because he's guilty of anything, because his body learned the drill before his brain finished growing, and the body doesn't forget just because the decades passed and the hair went gray. But here's the other side of it, because I'm not going to leave you with just the wound. A lot of these men took that same hyper-awareness and turned it into something else entirely. A radar for reading rooms, for knowing when to speak and when to hold back, for protecting the people coming up behind them before the world gets a chance to teach them the hard way. He's the uncle who pulls the nephews aside before they get their first car and gives them the talk. The one nobody had to write down because every black father and uncle in America already knows it word for word. Generation after generation. Like scripture nobody wanted to have to pass down. He's not handing down fear. He's handing down a survival manual because he'd rather his nephew feel a little on edge at 16 than not make it home at 17. And plenty of these men did something else with it too. They didn't let it make them bitter, and they didn't let it make them small. They just got quietly, permanently clear-eyed about the world in a way that never leaves them. He's not surprised by much anymore. He's not naive about how he's perceived walking into a store, a bank, a nice neighborhood after dark with his hands in his pockets. But he also didn't let it stop him. He built a life anyway, raised kids anyway, kept a job, kept his composure, kept showing up in rooms that were never built with him in mind. That's not damage sitting there quietly. That's a kind of strength most people never had reason to develop because most people never needed it to survive their own childhood. If you love a man like this, don't ask him to get over it. And don't act like bringing it up means he's stuck in 1987. And don't act shocked when he tenses up at a routine traffic stop at 58 years old with nothing in the car but groceries. That's not paranoia talking. That's a memory with good reason to still be wide awake. And if you're him, the man who was that boy on that sidewalk all those years ago, here's the thing worth saying straight to your face. What happened to you was never your failure to prove yourself. It was the world failing to see you clearly in the first place. You did nothing wrong then, and the caution you carry now isn't weakness dressed up as habit. It's proof that you made it all the way through something a lot of people never had to survive at all. Thanks for watching. If this one hit home, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.